Hey guys, my name's Elizabeth and welcome back to Music Lessons by E.O.A. So today we're going to be looking at tempo. The time signature indicates how many beats there are in a bar and the kind of note, crotchet, minim, etc. being used to represent a beat. What the time signature does not show is just how fast the beats are moving. A piece in 2/4 or 4/4 could be a march, but is it a quick march or a funeral march? The speed of the beats is called the tempo. A funeral march, for instance, would be said to be a slow tempo. Expressions like slow tempo or quick tempo are somewhat vague, but composers can indicate exactly the speed they want. To do this, they use a device called a metronome or a Mauser's metronome, named after the man who patented the invention in 1815. It makes a steady ticking sound, like a clock, except that it can be adjusted to tick at any speed one wishes. Other types are now available, including electronic versions with a flashing light. The metronome can be set to tick or flash at a given number of beats in a minute, and this number may be shown at the start of the music. Thus, equals 60 or mm. mm meaning an abbreviation for Mauser's metronome. This means that there are 60 crotchet beats in a minute, 1 a second, which can easily be checked against a clock or a watch. Similarly, this equals 48, which means 48 quaver beats in a minute. This equals 100, which means 100 minim beats in a minute, and so on. Thus, the following two examples would sound exactly the same and last just as long. So, if we look at 100 minims a minute, even though there are 60 crotchets, makes 1 minute. If there's 100 minims, remember 1 minim equals 2 beats. So if there's 100 minim beats in a minute, that means it's going to be played quite fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's going to be played quite quickly. Alright, so let's play this composition. The first one's 3/4, which is going to be played 1, 2, 3. Alright? 1, 2, 3. Next bar. 1 and 2, 3. Next bar. 1, 2, 3. And the final bar is 1, 2, and 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. And the next bar will be played as, which is 3/8. So because it's 3/8, that means the quaver represents 1 beat. Right, so if the quaver represents 1 beat, then the crotchet equals 2 beats. So this composition will be played 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. So, not only is there quavers, there's semiquavers. So in the 3/8 time signature, the semiquaver equals half a beat, but in a 4/4 common time equals quarter of a beat. Let's play it one more time. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Before the invention of the metronome, composers could show the speed they wanted only approximately by writing such words as slow, moderate, or quick. Even today, many prefer to use words rather than to give an exact speed by means of a metronome figure, or metronome mark, as it is usually called. In earlier days, the words were generally written in Italian, and often still are, although other languages, German, English, or French. All right, so oftentimes when musicians or composers don't want to give an exact number, like for example, I want this composition to be 50 beats per minute, and I want it in 4/4s. They would say things like, I want it to be accelerando, which is Italian. All right. And you will see this in a sheet of music. Accelerando, which means gradually getting faster. And then there's another word, which is also Italian, allegro, which means quick and cheerful. And another one, which is also Italian, is ostinato, which is a common word. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of that word, ostinato, which means persistent, generally referring to a persistently repeated rhythm or melodic figure. For example, a bass ostinato is a bass line with this feature. So if you don't know, bass lines are often repeated in a composition or in a song because it's something that goes on, and it carries the melody. It's the bass line that people can remember, right? So let me play these words, these tempos. So if I wanted to play accelerando, it would be like this. Or allegro. Ostinato, which means a repeated rhythm or melodic figure, which is persistent. So persistent means something that is constant. Now, one thing about ostinatos is it doesn't necessarily have to continue from the beginning to the end of a piece. So if the composition is 3 minutes long or 16 bars, it's not necessarily going to be that long. It can only be repeated, or it can be repeated for a specific number of bars. And the only way that you can change it is if you add another musical symbol. Like, for example, if you see ostinato, you can now, for example, use fine. Or from ostinato, you can now write ostinato, then after 8 bars, you can now use another word like allegro. Or you can sort of like change the instrument. So while a composition is playing, If the trumpet is being repeated, then after 8 bars, you can put a fine on that trumpet, which means the trumpet is going to stop playing after 8 bars, but the other instruments will still be playing. So, like I said before, ostinato doesn't necessarily mean beginning to the end. It can be for a certain period of bars. This chapter is headed The Basics of Rhythm and Tempo. The two are not the same. Rhythm refers to the way in which sounds of varying length and accentuation are grouped into patterns. One way to understand it is to think of a familiar tune, say a song or a march. Although the tune itself could not be played on a table, its rhythm could be tapped out on one. And on one means on the first beat. If it were to be tapped out more quickly or more slowly, its rhythm would not change, only its tempo. So for example, this is a rhythm. Now let's change the tempo. You can hear that it's the same rhythm, just the tempo has changed. I'm playing it more slowly. Now quicker. Quicker. Now a bit slower. This is it for today's lesson on tempo. My name is Elizabeth, the owner and founder of Music Lessons by E.O.A. I hope you guys are having a good time. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more.